How's it going, everybody? Saturday afternoon here. The Thekdogg and Sirrobert talking about Week 2 NFL. Week 1 was a lot of fun, a lot of points necessary to take anything down, especially on DraftKings. I think the Millie Maker guy had 300. So, I think if you told me before the week started I was going to have a couple 200-point lineups, I would say, wow, that's great. I'm really going to win some big money. But, it's a little bit different. Didn't quite end up that way. So, all right, without further ado, Rob, I think this is a pretty good week as well. I didn't really do anything with Chris in terms of a game by game. So we can, I think maybe, let's start out with a game by game. And then if we miss anyone, we can go positional after. How's that sound to you?
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I just want to counter your point that week 1 was fun. Week 1 was not very much fun at all.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was kind of being a little sarcastic, but maybe that.
Okay, sorry. My sarcasm awareness is like rock bottom all the time, so my bad. But yeah, however you want to do it, man. You are in control. I'm at your whim. Let's do it.
All right. Do you have the schedule in front of you?
Yeah, absolutely.
First game we can dive into. I'll just go by the DraftKings, the way DraftKings has it.
Yeah.
Carolina and Atlanta. This should be an interesting game. I know there is a bunch of people that I'm interested in. In terms of cash, Tevin Coleman is probably the number one of the top plays of the week. Devontae Freeman's been, I believe, ruled out at this point. All but ruled. I think he has been ruled out officially. So yeah, Tevin Coleman is like 56 or 5,100, something like that on DraftKings, and that is way too cheap for the amount of volume he's going to get. They're at home. I would say the game script definitely will most likely favor him. Atlanta should take a lead by the second half, if not earlier. In which case, a team looks to milk the clock and hand the ball off. Tevin Coleman should easily see 20. I don't want to say easily, but I expect him to have 20 touches because he can catch the ball as well. Ito Smith is this backup who, I'm sure will definitely be mixed in there as well. He looks like he's pretty small, so I would imagine they'll probably throw him in there for pass catching and not much else, maybe just to spell Coleman and give him a little bit of a rest. But I know I'll be definitely sticking Coleman in cash. You want to expand on this a little bit further? I don't want to take all the good plays from this game.
Well, you're off to a good start because I actually am taking quite a stand on Tevin Coleman this slate and saying, no, sir, I want none. Not playing along with the Tevin Coleman this slate. Mostly because I think Carolina have one of the best run defenses in the league. I think it's really highly underrated, especially if Luke Kuechly can stay healthy. I don't see Tevin Coleman having much success in the pass catching back game at all. So I don't know. I know. Excuse me.
Why? Because of Carolina or because of him? I mean, he's amazing pass catching running back. So
he is, but Carolina is also amazing at preventing that. I don't know. I'm just more on the Carolina side entirely. I think a lot of this has to do with the ownership's going to be super heavy on Coleman. Like, I think it's almost the situation last slate where everyone saw Connors, and rightfully so, clicked his name instantly. That always doesn't pan off exactly correctly. And I don't know. Obviously, Coleman has had a pretty amazing outing with Freeman not in games. But, yeah, I'm gonna be going on the other side of that game entirely. I definitely will be having some Julio Jones. I don't know about you, but Christian McCaffrey is one of my favorite running back plays of the entire slate. Atlanta are absolutely horrid at pass catching backs. Conversely, compared to
they funnel it that way. They want the guy to catch it in front of them and only have a
Absolutely, and I think that's going to not work out very well for Atlanta this slate at all, especially with Greg Olsen out. McCaffrey's going to soak up a lot more targets, if not all of Greg Olsen's target share, and I don't see Atlanta being able to actually have any kind of impactful deterrent from McCaffrey, going half ham this slate, especially from 7K. I think his ownership is going to be way too low because so many people are going to be on Kamara and Gurley excuse me, and Antonio Brown and Tyreek Hill. By the time I'm going to be talking about that a lot, you'll find throughout this whole thing. By the time you get through with that, McCaffrey's just not going to be owned enough. So I'm all about McCaffrey. Actually, that's where I'll be going this with the running backs.
I like McCaffrey this week. I think he's a little pricey for a guy who I worry about his goal line situation. He fumbled last week, and not only they gave it to I don't even know who for the second touchdown. So I do agree with you. Yeah, I do. Cam had one and fullback had the other, I believe. So I do agree with you that Atlanta definitely funnels that way, and I expect a ton of receptions from McCaffrey. Are definitely between like 6 to 10. And he's looking good last week. He was juking people. Like I expect him to definitely have a productive game. Not a bad call at all. Like you said, Olsen's out. One guy that you didn't mention that I'm definitely big on this week is in this game in particular is Devin Funchess. He's 4,600 or 4,700, and the numbers for him when Olsen are out are significantly better. Cam throws a lot of his attention to Funchess's way when he has less targets there. He's not going to just spread the ball around for no reason. He's going to kind of stick with his guys. So I see a lot of attention for McCaffrey and Devin Funchess this week. 4,700. I definitely think he's in play in cash. And just a little GPP play. Cameron Ridley will be on my radar this week. He didn't even have no catches last week. It was in Philly, defending champs, tough game, first game of the season. It's a lot of stuff going on. Gus has already said that they're going to look to really force the ball to him a little bit more early on to get him involved. So we all remember what Julio did to Carolina a few years ago. He has those days, and he had like 10 catches in week 1. So it's not like he had a bad week. A lot of people will be on Antonio Brown, rightfully so. Michael Thomas, I don't want to say it's chasing points, but he had a great week 1 as well. So I can easily see Julio and Hopkins, people like that, but definitely Julio, just because we're focusing on this game, going under the radar, being a great GPP option this week, but I wouldn't play him in cash. Is there anything else with this game, or should we move on?
Yeah, I'm all about Julio. I very, very vividly remember what he did to Carolina, and
no Julio, no money that week.
I don't want to miss out on him. I think his ownership is going to be something to be utilized this slate. Like I said earlier, when you get through Tyreek Hill and Antonio Brown and Kamara and Gurley, Julio Jones just can't be afforded. So I don't like him as much as some other guys, but I think he stands to be not owned enough and be in a really good situation. But yeah, that's all I really have to say about this game in general. Maybe I may think about stacking some Carolina Panthers with McCaffrey and Newton together, see something like that. But I don't see myself venturing into the Panthers wide receivers actually. But I definitely like your Funchess take.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I personally won't have like a ton of Funchess, but I do think it's because I don't play that much cash. But I think he's a great play for the price. The volume will be there, should be there. And I do expect Carolina to probably be trailing in this one. Atlanta plays very well at home. Matt Ryan had a pretty awful week 1. I think everyone on that team's itching to make that right. But moving on, the next game that I see here is the Colts and the Redskins. That's not exactly a game that I'm in love with, anyone in particular. I'm looking at this now, honestly, and there's really no one that I really see for cash, I don't think. What about – I mean, I guess Jack Doyle is probably cash-worthy. He's only 4K. A lot of people were worried about Eric Ebron coming in, but I think he ran like 30 snaps. He was only out there for like 30 snaps last week. He did do well. He had a couple catches, a touchdown, so he's probably going to play a lot more on the opponent's side of the field, I would say. So that's definitely valuable, of course, as we love. We always want scoring equity. But Jack Doyle was clearly the tight end to own here. He was. I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but he's out there for significantly more snaps than Ebron. And he's the new Colts offense is a lot of like dink and dunk passing, and Jack that benefits the tight end. So Jack Doyle. I mean, it was nice to see Hilton get a red zone target last week and a score from inside the 2. So that doesn't usually happen. He's usually like a big play guy or nothing. We like to target him at home. I'm not really on anyone on Indianapolis this week. Washington side of the ball, maybe Jordan Reed. I think he could be interesting. Alex Smith does well with his tight ends, of course. And, as long as Jordan Reed can stay healthy, he's always been, the talent's always been there. And at a position like a tight end where, getting something like 6, 7 catches, 100 yards, and, a touchdown or two can be, a difference maker on a week where, other people are maybe just getting, 6 or 7 points out of their tight end. So I'm not really on Adrian Peterson. I think he's, there's too many other plays this week I like at running back. But Chris Thompson for PPR, especially on DraftKings, he's in the conversation. But again, I think all of these plays are GPP for the most part. Is there anything that you'd like to touch on here, cash or GPP related, Rob?
I love this game. This is one of my 2 favorite games of the slate. Well, I think it's going to be super underowned. I think the Colts are garbage defensively. Andrew Luck's probably going to throw the ball 50 times again. The Colts, all they do is allow these 10-yard checkdowns like it's their job, and that's what Alex Smith likes to do, like it's his job. Chris Thompson could very easily see all these checkdowns. Crowder's good. Crowder's pretty good down the field. Richardson may be out, which makes Doxson, I think, a really sharp GPP play. Especially Jordan Reed. Yeah, I'm all about Jordan Reed. He's I think he may be my favorite tight end of the entire slate. The Colts are not going to be able to defend Jordan Reed, especially with Alex Smith throwing him the ball. But I think my favorite play from this is actually Adrian Peterson. He's back. Adrian Peterson is legitimately back. I watched a lot of the Redskins game last weekend, and he actually looked incredible. And I am very critical of Adrian Peterson. I thought he looked garbage in a Cardinals uniform, and I wasn't very supportive. And he's legitimately looks like he's back. So I even don't mind if you're doing a 150 entry kind of thing and you're not taking 150 shots. Stack Thompson and Peterson together. Go for it. Go ham. The Colts are bad. They're going to throw the ball 50 times. Even think about the Redskins defense if you want. But I'm on your side too. Jack Doyle is an incredible option this slate from only 4K. The closer you get to the red zone, the more Ebron will feature. Again, stack both of them if you want with Andrew Luck. He's going to throw the ball 50 times. So, just go everywhere with it. That's the thing I like about this game is that when Andrew Luck's throwing the ball this often, which is going to happen a lot, I'm all in. Anything can happen, right? The Colts could have a big game. The opposition defense could have a big game. The opposition runner can have a big game. Adrian Peterson, I think, is in line for a really big game if Washington get really far ahead and just want to keep running the ball. He's looking really good, really good.
Hey, I can name about 8 or 9 running backs that I would want this week before AP. He doesn't catch the ball. Thompson's stealing the PPR. I respect your take, but I'm not there myself. So I guess we'll leave it at that. Houston and Tennessee with the next game here. Again, I think this is more of a GPP than a cash game. I'll be on Deshaun Watson with Hopkins, and maybe Will Fuller's expected to debut this week. So that's an interesting stack right there. Week 1 against the Patriots. The Patriots just lost the Super Bowl. You don't really see Belichick lose 2 games in a row very often. I don't think they stood a chance, but Watson's coming off of injury in week 1. So there were a lot of things kind of going against them there. But I like this game a lot. If Kenny Stills and Tannehill can kind of tear up Tennessee's secondary, I don't really think Watson's going to have much of a problem. Will Fuller coming back stretches the field and opens things up for Hopkins. There's not really much Watson can do, and it's Hopkins getting double and triple covered with Bruce Ellington out there against the Patriots. So I expect a much better game out of both of those guys. On the Titans side of things, I definitely like Dion Lewis a little bit. He's had a good week 1. I don't see Derrick Henry having much success against this big front on Houston. And we do know Delaney Walker is out as well. Jonnu Smith is his replacement at tight end. It makes me too nervous to put him in any of my lineups this week. Maybe he'll be in one milli maker if I have enough out there. But other than that, for this game, my focus is pretty much just on Hopkins as a bit of a GPP pivot, as we mentioned in a similar way to Julio Jones earlier. A little bit of a pivot from Antonio Brown, if you want to get crazy, even though I do love Brown this week. But yeah, that's it for me. I'm mostly on the Houston side of things. Will Fuller, if he plays and everything's good to go, then yeah, he's an excellent GPP play at his price. Houston's I listened to a similar a pod earlier this week that had an interesting take on the Houston offense and kind of compared them to the Houston Rockets in basketball. And I thought that was an interesting comparison, just in the sense of they don't really there's no middle ground for them. They kind of keep it low and short and quick little donkey passes or handing it off, or they really stretch the field and go for the home run. So, just like Houston with 3-pointers and dunks all the time. So I like the Texans side of the ball, but I don't really think I'll have too much ownership in this game. What about you, Rob?
Yeah. At the start of the week, I was really into Deshaun Watson and Hopkins. I figured it would be super low owned and it was super sharp and no one would be on it, but it's becoming pretty popular to the point now where I'm not 100% sure I'm going to be using it anymore. I still like it and I respect it and I like your call obviously on it, but I've kind of
I'm not going to have much either. It'll be
no. I think it's really sharp though. I do, but it's garnered a lot more discussion than I figured it would at the start of the week. But I shifted my focus from DeAndre Hopkins and Deshaun to Lamar Miller. I think Lamar Miller has potential here to absolutely go off the slate. Again, he's just one of those running backs that falls down the list. But Tennessee are really banged up right now. Their run defense is running on strings. So I expect Lamar Miller, if Houston get ahead at all, to really start working that. And with Delaney out, I think actually where I'll be shifting my focus, excuse me again, is on Corey Davis, only 5.1K. I'm having trouble not taking him in cash. Honestly, I don't want to, but it's something that I'm definitely considering. He has more than enough target share from 5.1K whenever Delaney's out. So that's something I'm considering. But other than that, I looked at Jonnu Smith a bit. It just doesn't interest me too much. I'm considering the Texans' defense and Lamar Miller stacked together. Mariota isn't healthy. Blaine Gabbert's a good quarterback and all. It's just if Mariota gets hurt again, the elbow, if he hurts it, I think the Texans defense could absolutely shred because I just don't think a lot's going to get through them, especially run wise. I'm not interested in the Titans run game, but I definitely think Deion Lewis is the way to go going ahead. That's for sure, 100%. So I definitely like that call. But yeah, that's really my take in that game.
Yeah, you're as interested in it as I am. Moving along to the next game, I see the Eagles and the Bucks. This should be an interesting one. Obviously, the Bucks were involved in the highest scoring game in Week 1. I don't think many people expected that, but that was in fact the winning the jackpot game to stack, and the real jackpot way to go was to stack Fitzmagic with Deshaun and Mike Evans and run it back with Alvin and Thomas. If you'd somehow made that lineup with Connor and all that, that would have been a nice 250 plus right there. But I'm definitely big on it this week. Tampa Bay's secondary was just absolutely the secondary that I just targeted time and time again last season, and I expect to do the same this season. I'm not, Nick Foles, all the Week 1 numbers don't really faze me very much. It's Week 1. It's a lot of emotions. Atlanta's a good defense, so I do expect Foles, Aguilar, Ertz to be much better results than Week 2. And maybe I will run it back with Fitzmagic, something like that, in the Millie Maker. But for this game, my only interest was if Deshaun Jackson was going to miss out, then I would have been big on Chris Godwin. But it looks like Deshaun's going to play. He's been practicing. I think he's been fully cleared at this point from the concussion protocol. So, 4,900 is an interesting price for him, but I respect Philly's defense a lot. So I probably won't really have anything at all from this game, to be honest. Maybe, like I said, in some stacks, just because Tampa Bay's secondary has been so horrible, I'll have an Aguilar, Foles, Ertz lineup. And I will consider Ertz this week in GPP. I think he's a good pivot, but most of my I will get into this later, but most of my tight end share will be with George Kittle. Is there anything else from this game that you'd like to touch on?
You read my mind to make sure that you don't talk about my picks because you're 3 for 3, making sure that you don't touch exactly what I want to talk about so bad. And that's Jay.
We didn't plan it that way.
Yeah, Jay, I think this week is set up. He's actually my number 2 GPP running back this slate. I think he's in every position to go off. Last slate was considered like precautionary, and he still had 2 touchdowns and scored like 20 points in DraftKings. There's another running back I like with right next to him too, but for now we'll talk about Jay. And I just think 6.3, his ownership, Tampa Bay is really bad. Everyone was so focused on Ryan Fitzpatrick's beard that they didn't realize that the Saints were just like putting up points any way they wanted at will. I think Foles, I'm not really interested in from his salary. It's just a little bit too expensive for me. But in terms of the stack I'm really going to utilize this game is actually either J.J. or J.J. with the Eagles defense. I think Fitzpatrick's going to draw too much ownership. In my soapbox humble opinion, I think the Buccaneers were literally set up to beat the Saints. The more air yards, the worse the Saints are going to be, and that's literally all the Bucs are air yards, just nonstop. So I just think that was a recipe for a shootout. This week, I don't think that's the situation at all. I think Fitz is going to be absolutely torn apart by the Eagles defense, and he's going to draw so much new ownership from last week. Fools and their money are soon parted. I'm totally okay with all this chalk hitting last week because the chalk's not going to hit every week, and very shortly here the money's going to start flowing back. I think J.J. and the Eagles defense is my second favorite way to utilize that this slate.
Interesting. No, I like the different, fresh eyes on the game for me. So very nice. I see Tampa Bay's secondary. You see, Tampa Bay's front seven. I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's the same. Yeah. Like I think the Eagles are going to get ahead and then just run a J.J.
Sproles out. Is that what I saw?
Yeah. Yeah. He's done. I'm pretty sure even for the season. Which would explain last slate why Philly struggled so bad against Atlanta, because Atlanta only allowed pass catching backs to go off, and Philly's literal only pass catching back is out. So
I disagree with that. I'm a big fan of Corey Clement.
Oh, me too. Oh, Corey Clement won me so much money last season.
So I think I expect him to be an interesting GPP play this week. He's 3,500. I would say the game script probably won't favor him, as I expect Philly to win this game, in which case we would favor Ajayi, but I have no problem with him at GPP play at 3,500, given Sproles being out. He's going to take on a much larger role, and, we saw what Alvin Kamara did to Tampa Bay.
Do you happen to know who's returning kicks for the Eagles?
No, I don't.
Because I know Sproles used to return punts, so he used to be like the 6 stack with the Philly DST and
Sproles. I don't think it would be Clement because they probably wouldn't risk him.
That's what I was going to ask, yeah. Anyways, yeah, I'm good with that game. That's basically all I really wanted to say. I like Fitz's beard, though. It's pretty sick.
Guys look alike. Next game, it's one of probably the number one game of the week for fantasy production, I would say. We got the Steelers and the Chiefs. James Conner is probably my number one cash play of the week, GPP play, everything. Just stuff him in there. A lot of people will be turned off by his price. It's 6,700. It's 2,000 more than last week, but in my opinion, it's still not even close to what he deserves to be. We've seen it's a great matchup. They're at home. Should be a lot of points. We've seen by now that Pittsburgh doesn't go to this running back by committee. They just stick whoever the backup is in the Le'Veon Bell role. Connor's more than capable and talented enough to perform in that role. He's wearing some Mac Miller cleats this week that should be pretty sick. So I expect Connor to be my highest owned player for sure. I'll be jamming him into pretty much everything. AB as well, cash and GPP. I'm throwing him in almost everything. Always balling Antonio Brown. He's still too cheap. A lot of people are, maybe they didn't see it or don't understand the weather implications and stuff like that. But, week one was tough and he still performed pretty well. But AB at home, stats are always inflated. Same with Big Ben. We get home Big Ben. So, when the quarterback plays better, odds are Antonio Brown's going to be a big part of that. On DraftKings, we have the 100-yard bonus. 8 to 10 catches would pretty much be a lock for this guy. And I will be sticking Antonio Brown and Connor into almost all of my lineups this week, cash or GPP. If you stack the game, obviously, you can run it back with Tyreek Hill. Travis Kelce's interesting, but Steelers play tight end very well. So I'll be looking elsewhere for tight end this week. But Mahomes was he was awesome last week. Him and Tyreek are clearly on the same page. Their stats together since the preseason. are, not even close to what he is with Sammy Watkins. So Tyreek's clearly the guy. One would think Pittsburgh would be winning early and often in this game. So game script would be favoring Kansas City throwing the ball, trying to catch up. I love this game. A lot of people will be off, Smith-Schuster and all, the other options for Pittsburgh. But for me, it's all about Connor and Antonio Brown. What about you, Rob?
Yeah. Last week, I made a pretty serious bold call that disturbingly came true with calling the Browns taking the Steelers to overtime, and specifically saying the Browns were going to come back and take the Steelers to overtime. This week, I'm going back to the Steelers for another bold call. My bold call this week is that the Steelers will win. Mahomes will do better than Roethlisberger, though. Both raw points and obviously as a value play. I've kind of been making a stand here for the last 4 or 5 Steelers home games that Ben Roethlisberger isn't immortal, and he can only run through so many transfer trucks before he starts to age. He's not on TB12, Tom Brady's medical treatment plan. This guy can't keep doing this every single season, and I'm taking the stand this week, especially that this is the season that Big Ben's going to start to regress, especially at home, which is like the place where he was really going over the top most of the time. Mahomes is I'm massive on Mahomes this slate. Cash, GPP, I can't see any situation other than he gets hurt or bad weather that this game doesn't shoot out. So I'm all on 6.1K on DraftKings for Mahomes. There's no problem with that. Now, going to running back, I think James Conner is the way to go and not Kareem Hunt. Obviously, I just think that's too set in stone. It almost makes me nervous, but this is my stack so far. So you go Mahomes, Connor, Brown, Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins is the huge piece here for me. Basically, my point here for this game is that it's going to be so crazy high owned that once everyone gets the same 4 players in, there's not going to be an unlimited list of players that you can choose from to fill in the extra slots. And what's going to end up happening is that a vast majority of people are going to end up in the same 3 or 4 other guys to fill the rest of the slots. Sammy Watkins is an absolute must play, in my opinion, simply just to try and shark the ownership a little bit. Smith-Schuster's in one of the hardest matchups of the slate. I'm not interested in picking on that. I'm totally into Sammy Watkins this slate. I think even as a solo shot, just 4.6K. I think the steel curtain is falling down, and they are going to suffer from some serious air yards this season. And Sammy Watkins should be a very good display of that right away. Josh Gordon tore them apart last slate. He made them look so bad out wide. Sammy Watkins is faster. I can see him just burning them repeatedly for 2 long touchdowns this slate. So I'm really into Sammy Watkins. He's one of my favorite overall GPP plays this slate, actually. And it's not because I think he's an awesome player or he's going to do great. It's like this game is going to be so highly owned. He makes for just like the craziest ownership pivot ever and still gets you in this crazy shootout game. That should have tons of positive variance.
Again, I'm glad we disagree. I think Watkins and Mahomes literally have shown they don't really have much chemistry. I think he's thrown the ball to him 3 times since the preseason. He's thrown it like 27 times to Tyreek or something.
Not a cash play, yeah.
Definitely not a cash play. I hear you. I don't think many people will be on Watkins. I think that's for good reason, but it's nice to have different takes.
The game is so crazy, right? That game is so crazy. Like it could go nuts. So who knows what can happen in nut games?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be on Tyreek.
Yeah, big time.
Miami and New York Jets next. Nice, a lot of Jet fans will be happy. Good Monday night performance. The defense looked great. Crowell looked pretty good. I may have a combination of Crowell and the Jets defense in a few lineups, GPP wise. I expect the game flow to favor that, and the Jets will have a lead, and they'll, Miami, it's a division game. Miami's not fantastic. Jets usually, it's a rivalry for them. Enunwa will be on my radar. He's a good player. I think Jermaine Kearse will be back, but I still like Enunwa a lot. not too interested in this game. Kenny Stills and Ryan Tannehill are clearly the guys. That's clearly Miami's number one. I don't. Is Devontae Parker back this week? I think so, but I'll still be on Kenny Stills if anything. I think he's questionable. Kenny Stills did get a nice bump. He's at 5,700 now, so I probably won't have much of him this week, given that there's just other guys that I like for cheaper prices, and this week is there's not much value out there, so you really need to save every penny you can. But for me in this game, GPP wise, Crowell and the Jets D. Jets D's 2,500. They're pretty cheap. I have my Jet fan friends assuring me they're the real deal, so they play much better at home as well. They drink pure green cold pressed juice, so they're in good shape to succeed. What are you looking at for this game, Rob?
Yeah, Sam Darnold is legit. He is actually like a real quarterback, which isn't something that a lot of your Jet friends can say they've had for the past little while. So I'm pretty excited to see the future with Sam Darnold. I think he's a bona fide future superstar. So it's exciting to see that in a Jets uniform. But yeah, in terms of Crowell, I'm not really crazy about it because I'm just not sure how sustainable that kind of output is. He only rushed 10 times. Like, don't get me wrong, obviously he had an incredible game, but like if you only give him 10 to 12 carries every single game, he's not going to get 25 very often, even against the Dolphins. I like Sam Darnold. It's just like kind of like a naked quarterback. Throw him out there all by himself and just build some sort of crazy stacked card. His salary definitely welcomes that. And I agree. I think they have something going on. Parker is expected to play this slate, so that kind of for me throws. I don't like Miami in general. I think they're one of the weaker teams in the league, so I'm kind of biased in that sense. But I'm pretty confident in my take that they're not going to be very good throughout the season. Gesicki, the guy you're on last week there, you talked a little bit. I think he's an interesting play too at only 2,800, and he's getting all the tight end catches for Miami. But other than that from this game, I'm really not too interested. Is the Jets defense a thing? Is this really a thing that's
$2,500? They're at home in a game that they're favored, and I expect them to win. It's not a huge over/under, so like I mentioned earlier.
No, I know. Like it's blown my mind that I've clicked Jets as many times as I have so far in my builds. But hey, you can't deny the price, right? So, but yeah, that's really my take in this game for sure.
Cool. 1 second. Can you pull up the next game? I'm trying to look at some MLB while we do this.
Yeah, for sure. No worries. So the next game we got is the Chargers traveling to the Bills.
Great. Yeah, I mean, this is one of my favorite games of the week. Obviously, I think the Bills are one of the least talented teams in the NFL. Probably shouldn't say that, but hey, Melvin Gordon is a absolute lock. I don't really know what else to say. It's simple as that with him. I think he's a great alternate this week to people who are just stuffing in Gurley and Kamara. Obviously, those guys are great, but when you're paying almost $10,000 for your running back, it really restricts you elsewhere. And Melvin Gordon has an absolute layup of a matchup. And I expect the Chargers to come out and really be pissed off after week 1 and really stick it to the Bills, as well as the fact that I love the Chargers defense, especially even with Bosa out. I understand they're not at full strength, but the Bills are just so bad that I like that combination. But I will also be looking at LaShawn McCoy in this game. I don't particularly like the play, but at 5,700, the volume that he should be receiving will be very significant for that price. That reason alone, I'll be considering him. The matchup's tough, but they are at home. And, they didn't get a chance to use him that much in week 1, given the blowout status and the game script. But I don't expect that to be the case. I think he may even be suspended soon enough, so they're not going to worry about saving his leg. So he could have a ton of volume in this game.
I'm not touching the Bills for a long time, and my plan is literally to max out my stack as much as I can, whoever the Bills are playing, at least once every slate. I'm having trouble not playing Melvin Gordon in every single card. Especially, I think it's on FanDuel. The Chargers defense is so cheap, and like this, my issue with McCoy, I completely 100% agree on the volume, and I actually helped draft him season long in a couple of season longs here because I feared the volume would just be nonstop all season. But the Bills are so bad that like I don't think they can even hold on to a ball for 4 downs to kick it away anymore. Like it's legitimately like every 2 or 3 downs, it's a turnover potential. So I just don't think McCoy is going to get enough volume because the Bills can't hold on to the ball long enough. So yeah, Melvin Gordon all day. Sure, Eckler could do some work too. Like that kind of happened mostly after Melvin Gordon was sat because they were winning. I don't like Phillip Rivers as a DFS quarterback. He's way too unreliable in my opinion. Throws interceptions like touchdowns. I'm just not really looking for that, even against the Bills. 6.7K isn't bad, but I think there's so many other cheaper quarterbacks that you can go with this slate that there's no reason really to pay 6.7 for Phillip Rivers, even against the Bills. I'd rather just pay up for Melvin Gordon on any site and just use him exclusively in this game with the Chargers defense.
Yeah, I mean, I like Phillip Rivers. I usually prefer to play him at home, but I definitely don't see him struggling against this terrible of a defense. I think Buffalo is going to lose pretty handily in this game. It's going to be because I'll have a few Rivers to Keenan Allen stacks with Melvin Gordon.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind Gordon and Eckler together because even if it's going to be a blowout,
it is.
They have to get to a lot of points. They have to get there. So there's a lot of weapons on that offense. I think Mike Williams is an interesting play too. But my focus here is Melvin Gordon and the Chargers defense, and then LaShawn McCoy, as I mentioned, because of the volume. But that's about it for that. What's the next game we have?
Minnesota traveling to Green Bay.
Yeah, this is obviously we're all waiting to hear the news on Rodgers. If Rodgers misses the game, then Minnesota D will probably be the highest owned defense in like the history of DFS. But we all saw what the Packers looked like last week when Rodgers wasn't able to play. They weren't really moving the ball too well. It's a divisional game. It's going to be a tough game. I like Minnesota and Dalvin Cook if Rodgers misses the game. If Rodgers plays, Minnesota's D is pretty good. So just out of respect to Rodgers and GPP purposes and Millie Maker, something like that, I'll have, Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Jamal Williams, just to have the game covered and, check it off my list. But there's not really any cash or GPP plays here for me. That's not fair to say, actually. I like Kyle Rudolph. He's going to be a touchdown machine this year. Kirk Cousins, obviously very accurate quarterback, and I expect his tight end and him to have a good rapport this year. But, if Rodgers is out, then Minnesota will probably win this game, and I would expect it to be like a really hard-hitting, low-scoring affair. So we'll wait to see what the news says on that. What about you?
I'm not waiting for no news. I am all in Dalvin Cook, my -- 1 running back GPP play this slate. I think stacking him with the Vikings is one of the sharpest things you can do at entire slate. It's not going to be owned enough. I don't think it's going to be owned very high. Like we talked about, when everyone gets through Kamara and Gurley and so and so and so and so, Dalvin Cook and I think Connor and Jay, those three right there in that range. Even if you wanted to go up to McCaffrey and Gordon, I think those 5 are my favorite running backs. I don't even want to play Kamara or Gurley once. I just want to keep playing Gordon, McCaffrey, Connor, Cook, and Jay over and over and over in every format. Maybe not so much. I'll keep my Gordon and Connor as my running backs for cash, but in GPP, I just want to roll with those 5 repeatedly and let everyone else waste the salary on Kamara and Gurley, and I'll spend it on Antonio Brown and Tyreek Hill repeatedly in the same card over and over and over. So, like, I don't know. Aaron Rodgers is a good guy. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks, but this is another one of those injuries that you just don't play on with. It's one of those injuries that stops you. And there's a really, really good chance he's going to play. And there's a really, really good chance he came back completely wrecked out of his mind on painkillers last week.
He was so high.
Yeah. So, like, congrats for playing that wrecked. Like, that's impressive. Like, forget the pain, but like just to be able to be that inebriated and painkillers in play was impressive enough. But like, honest to God, Minnesota are one of the best defenses in the modern game, and it's only going to take one hit and he's done. And I'm not sure if anyone noticed, the Vikings are kind of good at hitting the quarterback. So like, I just don't see and the Green Bay front line is not good at stopping it. Like, Rodgers isn't going to be able to run anywhere. Like, he's not going to have a scramble mode. As soon as they break through, he's dead in the water. So I think the Vikings D and I obviously I like everyone, man. I love the Vikings in general. I think Kirk Cousins is an excellent quarterback. Thielen and Diggs are both elite wide receivers. Rudolph's really reliable. I took him last week in tiers, and it completely paid off with a Cousins stack. I don't know.
Reliable Rudolph.
Yeah, I got no issue with Rudolph either, but like, honest to God, Dalvin Cook and the Vikings D. I know Latavius Murray is there stealing some love, but yeah, this is just really hard for me to look away from Dalvin Cook. I think he's in an incredible smash spot this slate with no ownership.
I agree with that. I don't know about no ownership, but yeah, he'll much less than the big boys. What's next?
Cleveland, New Orleans.
Yeah, that's a great game too. I expect New Orleans defense to pick it up a little bit. Alvin Kamara is the most expensive player of the week. But even if you take away his 3 touchdowns last week, he still had like 27 points. So his usage is insane. He's going to get his 8 catches a week, which is that his stats alone, taking away all touchdowns, should pay off his value. But yeah, obviously I don't expect him to get 3 touchdowns a week. You can stick Kamara. A lot of people will be going Kamara or Gurley in their cash lineups. I'm on people like Tevin Coleman and James Conner, and then potentially Melvin Gordon or Gurley, Kamara, depending on how the rest of my lineup looks. Cleveland side of the ball, I like Duke Johnson as an interesting GPP play. Games, I expect New Orleans to be up most of the time. Cleveland should be dunking the ball off. Josh Gordon's set to miss this one. Njoku, I like a lot. The Cleveland's tight end. He was out there for most snaps in week 1. It was just a tough matchup and tough weather and a lot of hard things about that. But I think he's definitely in play this week. I'm not stuffing him in there, but he's in play in game stacks. And then obviously Michael Thomas. If you're not sold on AB for some reason, you can't really go wrong with Michael Thomas. Jimmy Ward, I think his name is, the Browns rookie, the guy they took at 4th overall, looked great in week 1. He had an awesome game, couple picks. He, held AB in check, for the most part. Like, no one ever holds him in check. So yeah, I'm not going to say that about anyone ever, but for a rookie and all that, I think he did pretty well. So that's not going to stop me from taking Michael Thomas. But in terms of this week, I'll have a few lineups in GPP that are Saints stacks. But it's obviously very, very expensive, so it doesn't leave you much room for the rest of your lineup. Ty God, obviously, him and Clay had a good rapport in Buffalo, so I wouldn't mind. Last week we obviously saw Fitzpatrick was the stack to win it all in the Millie Maker. So sure, if you want to just to check it off your list, have a Ty God and Jarvis or Njoku, running it back with Kamara, Thomas, and just in the hopes of chasing what happened last week. I don't have a problem with it. But in terms of cash, Kamara is probably this closest thing I'd say to a cash play in this game. What about you, Rob?
Why didn't anyone tell me Josh Gordon wasn't playing? This ruins my whole week.
I think I just saw that like an hour or two.
Yeah, like I've been talking him up all week. I've been thinking about him while I've been walking my dog. I've been so excited to play Josh Gordon. I wrote him up my article. He's the pitcher in my article. Wow, that's a bummer. Well, my big stack this slate was going to be Ty God, Kamara, Landry, and Gordon. I thought that was just pure flames. I was so excited. I was going to put Josh Gordon everywhere. Doesn't matter. I'm still on Team Tyrod, especially for cash. Him and Jarvis Landry are easily the cash lock for me this slate. The Saints are not very good on the defensive side of the ball, especially when you compare how good they are on the offensive side of the ball. It's not a situation you really think about, but yeah, the Josh Gordon was going to tear them apart this slate. I was so excited for that, but I'll hold on the Jarvis Landry instead. Jarvis Landry is still going to be one of my top cash plays in general. 6.3K. You can't go wrong. 15 targets last game in the Hurricane Florence-esque type weather. So yeah, I'm all in Jarvis Landry this slate in general. Cash GPP doesn't matter.
What's his price?
6.3K on DraftKings.
Look, he's not cheap, but obviously, he's their guy. So
yeah, it's funny. It's kind of the same situation here as the running backs. I think there's a square peg of incredible plays around the 6K range for wide receivers that I'm really into, and we'll get into some more here again very shortly. But yeah, I'm all in Jarvis Landry this slate with Tyrod stacking that, putting Kamara in there too if you want. Carlos Hyde can even fit in there somehow if you really want to be fancy. Excuse me, Njoku. I don't see why him and Ty God don't eventually link up here repeatedly, especially for only 3K. Yeah, but Jarvis Landry's definitely my guy. If I had known Josh Gordon was out, I would have put Jarvis Landry as my cover photo for my article this slate, and I would have wrote him up as much. I just think the Saints are here for the taking, and not enough people will be looking at the shootout potential of the game. And just one more thing I want to talk about quickly. The Cleveland pass defense is like vastly improved, like so dramatically to the point that like if there was a most improved team, it would definitely be the Cleveland Browns pass defense. Their coaching still sucks, but they have some really, really, really talented pass coverage. They keep drafting that really high pass coverage guys the last 2 years, and the last 2 years, guys like Antonio Brown has been really held in check against the Browns. And yes, he did well enough, but he didn't do Antonio Brown well. You know what I mean? So in check is good enough whenever someone costs 8K. If you're holding someone in check, you're doing a good job. And the Browns do a really good job.
First game in the NFL, I was impressed.
Yeah, so like I don't see Michael Thomas doing as much as people are probably hoping. I think he's a huge trap. I don't see Ted Ginn doing as much, though I like him a lot more than Michael Thomas. And the only guy I'll use here is Kamara. And like I said, it's going to be in cash or in a stack with Tyrod and Jarvis Landry.
Your internet?
I'm good.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
All right, what's the next game?
Next game is Detroit and San Francisco.
This is an interesting game as well. I'm definitely on this. I like this game. Wow, this is a big slate this week. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
I like this game a lot. It looks like Marquise Goodwin's going to miss the game. So Dante Pettis is someone who I'll be looking at I'll stick him in a few cash lineups. I like him at 4K. This is a week where there's there's not much value, and he's expected to, I know he's a rookie. It's only his second career game, but he had a good week one. He was pretty heavily involved in their offense, and I expect him to be thrown in there as well again this week, given their injury situation. George Kittle is one of my favorite cash plays of the week. I think he was out there running routes like 33 of like the 37 times Garoppolo dropped back last week. So he's 3,900. Good matchup. George Kittle is far and away one of my favorite cash plays of the week, and he'll be probably my highest owned tight end. I'm totally a fan of a Garoppolo, Pettis, Kittle stack, running it back with like Galladay or Tate for GPP purposes. I think this will be a fun game this week. There's a lot of other options, especially at 4 o'clock with the Rams. So, I'm not going to have heavy ownership of that sort of stack, but I like, one of the things I'll never forget is in the football the DraftKings championship last year. I felt vibes. I wanted to take like a Garoppolo Goodwin stack, and I didn't end up having the balls to do it. And it's at home in particular, they really play well. So Pettis is a rookie, 4K, but I like Pettis and Kittle both. I really do. Kittle's the man. And then Galladay on the other side of the ball. Obviously, the Lions played on Monday night, so their prices don't quite reflect their actual performance, which is always good, something to target. So someone like Kenny Galladay at 4,600, 4,700, I'm not looking at it right now, 4,800, excuse me, I'm a big fan of his. He's a big play guy. He was leading the Lions in targets like pretty much the whole game last week until Golden Tate got a late flurry at the end of little short passes that the Jets were just kind of giving them because of the nature of the score. So I think that's an awesome GPP play this week. San Francisco stack, running it back. But I love Galladay. I love for the price in particular. And I love George Kittle, and not quite as much, but I do like Dante Pettis a lot too. What are you looking at for this game, Rob?
Love this game. Favorite game of the slate.
Hey, we agreed on something.
Yeah, I think in particular why I like this game so much is due to the ownership on the Kansas City-Pittsburgh game.
Yeah, and the Rams.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like this game right here could shoot out like crazy. Easily the two worst passing defenses in the league. Neither team has running backs. They're just going to throw the ball repeatedly, and anytime they don't catch it, the clock's going to stop, which is just going to make more time for everyone else. The two quarterbacks combined for like 90 throws last week. I like Matthew Stafford all the time. He's always going to throw it more than 40 times. Sucks he was intercepted so many times last slate, but like honestly, 6.1K and 6K on DraftKings for these two. Easily going up easily against the worst defenses in the slate. So like, I don't know. I
still think Buffalo's defense is worse.
Yeah, I think their offense is worse too, which makes their defense even worse. Yeah, that's a fair statement. Very fair statement. But like this game, just like literally close your eyes, pick a quarterback, skip the running backs, close your eyes, just click the wide receivers a bunch of times. Whoever's there, just make sure it's not Goodwin, and you're fine. Get Kittle in there, and you're totally set. And you can literally afford anyone you want. George Kittle is my top tight end play easily. Oh my God. I literally want to play him in every card. The Lions are so bad, everyone. If you're listening, the Lions are so bad. And I'm a huge Lions fan. The Lions are so bad defensively this season that like every team's going to walk over them. But the difference between the Lions and the Bills is that the Lions are going to put points up on the board, forcing the other team to score. Every game the Lions are in this season is going to be a crazy shootout, unless Stafford's going up against like the Vikings or something like that, who won't let him throw. But like situations like this, just literally hack this game for everything it's worth, and then find a really expensive guy like Kamara or Gurley to throw in with it, and you're set. You're flying. If there was like a 5 or 3 entry max kind of thing, I would do all 5 or all 3 of this game and just do a different variance of it. I love this game. I can't get enough of it.
Yep, I'm all for it too. Moving on to the next 4 o'clock start, one that will probably have a lot more people's attention, which is good for us. Will be the Cardinals at the Rams. I don't have the over/under in front of me right now, but you know, I think everyone who's a fan of sports and especially football saw the Sean McVay interview this week. He was just talking about like his memory and you know the play. He was recalling plays like it was just, you know, from years and years ago. Like it was just completely normal. So I think the Rams are major Super Bowl contenders this year. Anytime you have an offense that just puts up scores so easily and quickly and in such a variety of different ways, and on top of it has a pretty good defense too. This is could be an interesting year for the Rams. They went pretty far last year. I expect them to go even farther this year. That being said, take your pick with Gurley or Kamara this week. I expect similar production and volume out of both of them. Maybe Gurley will have a few more handoffs, and I would imagine the game script for this game would have the Rams up late and running out the clock with Gurley. So I think he's a great play. I would probably favor Gurley to Kamara this week, in my opinion, just because he's cheaper. I would say the opposite if Kamara was cheaper. It's not a drastic difference. I think it's only $400 or $300, but it's just the Saints are never going to give Kamara like 25 touches. And even though I don't think the Rams are going to give Gurley much more than that, because, it's a long season and they expect to go very far. And I don't think they want to run him into the ground early. He has an injury history and they just paid him a lot of money this offseason. But all that being said, the Rams, and especially stacking this game, is something that I will definitely do. And a lot of other people will. Gurley for cash. Cooper Kupp at 5,500 is someone that I'm definitely looking at. He'll be in the slot and he won't have to have Patrick Peterson on him. So that's obviously a massive plus when you're playing the Cardinals. Other than that, I won't have too much David Johnson, but he could be interesting here. I don't know. The Rams D is just very, very good. Best defensive, maybe not the best defensive front, but the best defensive lineman at least in the NFL with Larry Donald. I was going to say Larry David. I don't think Larry David's a great defensive lineman, but mostly for me, I'll be on the Rams side of this game. You could run it back with Larry Fitz just because I expect Arizona will score. But that's just reaching. 6K. There's a lot of other people that I like more. So in this game, I'll just mainly be focused on Gurley and the Rams D. Cooper Kupp, I think he's in play. Similar reasons to what I brought up with Funchess. Similar prices, and I think he'll have good volume this week, given the lack of Patrick Peterson on top of him. But game script favors the Rams running it, even though they do score so many points. So my focus is Rams and Gurley. What about you?
Yeah, I love the Rams, first of all. I think the Rams and the Redskins are two of my favorite teams to target this slate, especially I think the wide receivers are all really sneaky. I've always loved Jared Goff. I've always been a Jared Goff fan since day one. I still am, obviously. I'm not going to play Todd Gurley this week, and here's why.
I don't have any exposure at all to Todd Gurley.
0% Todd Gurley.
That's crazy.
Here's why. He's probably still going to do okay. I'm not saying he's going to score 5 or something silly. He's going to do fine, but 9.2 is a lot to ask. And the thing is you said something that's super, super relevant to my reasoning here, and it's that he has an injury history. They don't want to run him into the ground, and they just paid him a lot of money, so they kind of want to take care of him here. The second they're up by 3 touchdowns, he's not playing any more of the game.
All right, I will make I'm sorry, I had to interrupt. We have to have some sort of bet on 3 touchdown lead being an automatic early benching, because I've not.
Well, it happened last game there where he sat for basically the entire fourth quarter. So I don't know. I'm not looking to lose the fourth quarter to Kamara and what he can do. Now, am I saying I'm going to have all sorts of Kamara? No, but if I have to choose between Gurley and Kamara, it's literally Kamara 9 times out of 10, and it isn't even close for me. It's so obscenely Kamara's better, just simply because there's a really good chance that if the Rams get ahead, and hey, they could get ahead because of Gurley. He could get 3 touchdowns and have 30 points by halftime or something crazy. The Cardinals are this bad. There's no question. But at the same time, Robert Woods has scored 40 before. Cooper Kupp is basically Jared Goff's best friend in the entire world. Brandon Cooks and Goff have looked incredible together. So it could be anyone, right? Even Higbee had the second highest snap percentage.
Question though, why do you seem to think that the Rams Cardinals game is a lot? I agree, it will be a blowout, but what about New Orleans Cleveland? You don't think that's going to be a close game? Sorry, you do think that's going to be a close game?
Yes, I do.
Even without Josh Gordon?
Even without Josh Gordon, yeah, I think it definitely doesn't help. Probably puts a little bit more emphasis on whether or not Crowell will do something now. I wasn't even considering anything outside of
whether or not who will do something.
Crowell.
Crowell's on the Jets.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I meant to say. Carlos Hyde. Whether or not Carlos Hyde will be drawn.
I think Duke Johnson's the guy for sure in this game.
Yeah, I think. I don't know. I've got really weird feelings about the Browns, man. I got really weird feelings. I don't want to go back and talk about them too much, but I really like the Browns. Maybe not to win again, but maybe take another game to overtime and make it a hell of a lot closer than people are really expecting. I just think their defense is vastly improved to the point that it's going to make a lot of games closer. And their offense is vastly improved as well, which is going to help things. But maybe that's just my bias this slate, especially with Josh Gordon. Now I have to reevaluate a lot of things. Sorry, but yeah, in terms of the Rams, I just think Todd Gurley, yeah, he could do great. He could come off the field though, and that's a huge concern for me. And I would rather just stick with Kamara.
Okay. I will never trash talk Kamara. I mean, he's like the perfect DFS, especially DraftKings running back.
Yeah, like I already mentioned where my intention
really has his weeks, man.
Yeah.
You know, where,
Yeah,
I don't see Kamara like busting. Maybe he will. Whatever, we'll see. Moving on though, New England at Jacksonville. This is going to be a fun game from just an NFL point of view. As an NFL fan, I'm not really too into this from a DFS standpoint. The big news here is probably that Leonard Fournette is looking like he's going to be a game time decision for this one. I'm not really into running backs with hamstring issues. I think that's just, always a red flag. DFS is hard enough, and crazy enough stuff happens that, when you target, it's not usually a good idea to target a running back that's entering the week with hammy issues. So
can I interrupt you quickly?
What?
Can I interrupt you? Sorry, quickly there, just for a second. Just like a couple hours ago, the Jaguars have promoted running back Brandon Wilds from the practice squad and have cut wide receiver Rashad Green. This move could be an indication that Leonard Fournette hamstring may not be able to play this Sunday against New England.
Right, yeah, I mean, that's what I figured. Even if he was going to play, I definitely wouldn't have targeted him. But even with him out, I'm still not big on TJ Yeldon. I expect, obviously, Yeldon will, be the guy that they're going to throw out there and do most of their stuff with. They've said they want to play Ryan Grant in the past, and he's shown flashes, especially on the kick returning side of things, but I think he's a little small. Yeldon's been around the block for a while. I'm sure he knows their playbook very well, and he'll be the guy who gets the volume here. But I think he's priced up a little bit after his performance last week. DraftKings also probably knew to look out for that, given Fournette left the game, so I'm sure they priced him up, Yeldon up a little bit, just knowing that there was a chance he would get the starting job for the week. But yeah, I mean, this game is going to be very heavy hitting. Both teams hate each other. The Jaguars obviously have plenty of bad feelings about the playoffs, where there was all that complaining about the Patriots and the pass interference calls and the things that they got at home. So I expect this game to be pretty low scoring and very heavy hitting and well coached, and just defense. If anything, I like the Jaguars D. The 2,800. They're almost matchup proof. They just, because their front is so good, they're going to get their sacks. They're probably going to get at least 1 or 2 turnovers, and they also always have a good shot at a defensive touchdown. Just given how talented they are, they have like 8 Pro Bowlers on that starting defense, something crazy like that. And like I said, you don't need any extra motivation in the NFL, but they hate probably New England more than anyone else. So I would expect the Jaguars D to be a nice play this week. Yeldon is in play, and he should be in a few of your lineups for just to, because it's value with Fournette being out. D.D. Westbrook looked pretty good last week. A lot of people have Keelan Cole as the guy who's stepping right in there, and I do agree with that. I think he would probably be their number one. He disappointed everyone last week in a tough matchup against the Giants. Not tough, but not easy. And D.D. had 5 or 6 catches and looked like Bortles' is number one guy for a long part of that game. So I will have Bortles, sorry, not Bortles, potentially D.D. in a couple of GPP lineups. But in terms of this game, I don't really think I'm targeting much at all. The Patriots-wise, Burkhead's in concussion protocol. Jeremy Hill tore his ACL last week. Sonny Michel's looking like he will probably debut, but he's a rookie. And this is good. James White is basically the only healthy back on the roster here. So in terms of the Patriots side of things, I do like James White a little bit, but because of the Jaguars defense being so tough, I won't have much exposure to anyone in this game. Even Gronk. What about you?
All in TJ Yeldon, Jags defense. This is basically the only game of the entire slate that's going to be affected by Hurricane Florence.
Yeah, that's true. Definitely.
And, honest to God, my family is full of Pats fans, and I love watching them suffer. when the Patriots lose. It's one of my favorite things to watch, honestly. And nothing makes me more excited this slate than taking Pats fans' money with the Jaguars defense. I think that would be pretty awesome. So I'm all into that. I just think the weather's going to play a big part here. Brady is probably a salary trap in general, even though he's a huge discount. I think the Jaguars defense isn't going to like shred him to bits or anything, but it's just going to make him unviable, especially in comparison to the mass plethora of quarterback options we have. But yeah, I'm expecting that Fournette will probably like do exactly what happened last week, play 8 or 9 snaps and then be done. And Yeldon will come in for the rest of the game. I'm taking Yeldon, Jags DST in in the Millionaire Maker and some really high buy-ins. As much as I can get my hands on. I'm looking at him as my Tevin Coleman. Because I know as soon when you were talking about him earlier, it's for the exact same reasons, right? And basically the same price. And I think a lot of people are going to be on Tevin Coleman because he's the popular pick, and he's like the James Conner from last week, like that guy that everyone's just going to put in their lineup because he's cheap, and they're going to forget Yeldon's even there. I'm all about TJ Yeldon this slate. He's been like, out of literally every person in the Jaguars, I don't think anyone's been there longer than TJ Yeldon. Literally, like across the board, he's a career Jaguars guy. So like you said, there's nobody that he probably knows the playbook better than Fournette. So I have no problems whatsoever with Yeldon and getting that Jags defense in there for absolutely no ownership and 2,800 with the weather. Yeah, I'll jump on that.
Yeah, I'm Team Tevin all day. He's a natural runner. If you watched him in college, he was a real workhorse of a running back, whereas Yeldon's never really been much more than just a pass catching back. I'm not really a believer in him running the ball at all. He's never ever had success in the NFL doing that. I don't think it's going to start against Belichick. But yeah, and he's literally more expensive than Tevin. So I disagree with you on that one, but that's the beauty of the show. Oakland at Denver next game. Last one of the week. It's been a long show. Denver, Manny Sanders was a layup last week because of his price, and we all know Keenum loves to throw to the slot more than the outside, where Manny Sanders pretty much plays completely in the slot. Philip Lindsay was interesting last week, as a lot of people expected Royce Freeman to be the guy to get all the volume, and Lindsay looked very good out of the backfield, catching balls and running it. So I like Denver this week. I like Demaryius Thomas as well. Oakland gave up the most big plays last year to receivers without getting an interception. So not much has changed for that defense. And Demaryius Thomas is cheaper than Emmanuel Sanders. So I do think Sanders is still in play, given what I just said about Keenum loving the slot. But I think Demaryius is an interesting pivot unless you're stacking them both together. Philip Lindsay being 4,400 is definitely in play as well. But one of my favorite plays on this game is going to be Jalen Richard. I expect the game script to definitely favor his style of play. They should be down most of the game, and I think he had 9 receptions last week. DraftKings being PPR, that's obviously the type of guy you target. But given the game script as well. I'm trying to pull up his price here. Right now, I think he is 3,400. So 3,400 is that's pretty cool. Awesome GPP play. Him and Jared Cook make for the Broncos don't really play tight ends very well, so Jared Cook is a good guy to run it back with too if you have a Broncos stack. So this is an interesting game. It's sneaky, and I wouldn't be surprised if one guy from this is in the winning Millie lineup.
Yeah, I'm all about Jared Cook. Jared Cook and Kittle is in my tight end and flex, and the vast majority of my GPPs. Honestly, it kind of sucks Jared Cook had such a big game last slate because the Broncos are just going to hand him one right back. I don't like Derek Carr because obviously Denver's incredible against pass. So like I'm just not working against that. But I went Case last slate. It really cost me, honestly. He didn't do as well as I needed, especially for cash. But I had all sorts of Emmanuel as my highest on wide receiver. He's still going to, yeah, he's still going to be one of my highest on this slate, honestly. Again, that 6.2, 6K range for wide receivers and running backs. I'm just in love with this slate. I think they're all flames, every single one of them. So I have absolutely no issue with Emmanuel Sanders. I'm less bullish than everyone else. I'm more wait and see on Lindsey and Freeman, see what happens. Lynch wasn't that impressive, but I love your Jalen Richard call. It's one of my favorite actually of the slate. I watched the Oakland game there last weekend, and he was incredible. Jalen Richard was on fire, and they even looked like a lot of their plays were designed for Jalen Richard. So he is definitely someone I have interest in. I won't be playing him, but I think that's a really, really, really good take.
Thank you. Yeah, he's someone who is very similar to like a Duke Johnson. There's something like that who is going to kind of come in there when the team's losing or when they're down, by 10 plus points, and Denver's kind of just in time wasting mode, so to speak. And then especially if they have a lead and their ears are tucked back on defense and they're really bringing a lot of pressure at the quarterback, they don't have much time for guys to really run downfield. That's when someone like Jalen Richard really comes into play, getting those little catches out of the backfield and giving his quarterback a little breathing room, and allowing making sure the defense isn't able to blitz as much. So I like him a lot for game flow purposes. But yeah, that's it for me in this game. Why don't we go ahead with your favorite plays of the week? Your absolute guarantee for our audience.
Absolute guarantees. Okay.
No, just let's stick it to one. Unless you want to do one cash, one GPP.
Yeah, one cash, one GPP. Right, cool. Absolutely.
Yeah.
My cash is going to be Tyrod Taylor. My GPP is going to be. Ooh, that's a tough one. Probably Alex Smith.
I like it. 2 QBs. Interesting.
Yeah.
Not bad. So for me, I will go with a layup. And one of the reasons I say this guy is because some people may think it's like so obvious and it's too obvious, and people overestimate their competition sometimes. And for me, James Conner, even with the price increase, is still almost $2,000 too cheap. And on a week like this where you literally need to stick in the guys that are, even a couple $100 too cheap to really, make your lineup work, and to get the guys that you need to get, like AB or Kamara. Someone like James Conner for cash and GPP, in my opinion, is just one of the first names you should click in there to stuff in your lineup. And then a little bit more of a GPP take. Interesting. I got to think about that one for a second.
Just a second. I just want to interrupt for a second. I thought you meant we're going to do by each position, but you go ahead. I'll redo.
No, that'll take too long, but I'll let you redo.
I get that. I'll redo here. You pick yours. I'll redo.
James Conner is my number one, and then for GPP take, I'll say that DeAndre Hopkins is going to be the highest scoring receiver of the week.
Interesting. Yeah, my cash lock is either Jarvis Landry or Melvin Gordon. Either or, I think both will be absolutely fine. And for GPP, my favorite GPP play this slate, let's go with some solid George Kittle. I'm just crazy about Kittle this slate. I don't know what it is. The Lions are so bad.
He's cash. Come on. He's not a GPP play.
Are you serious? Oh, man.
No, sorry. I said James Conner, so that's not fair. So fair enough.
No, yeah. I'm all about George Kittle. Like, if I have to be really, really fancy, I would still stick to tight ends. Who was I thinking there? For cash, I'm going Seals Jones for tight ends. But Kittle's definitely my guy.
Nice. All right, cool. Good show, I think. I was happy with it. I think it kind of has to be.
But I think we had fun.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, I like that we disagree. I'm not trying to come across as a dick because it's definitely not how I feel. But it's just sometimes when someone else has such a different take than you, it's like, whew. Yeah, it's nice. It's good. I hope our viewers enjoy it. But yeah, this was a good week. RotoPros.com. We have 2-week free trial. Big NFL slate tomorrow. We've worked very hard here on behind the scenes to make sure that what we present to you guys is going to be very organized and readable and make a lot of sense, and most importantly, industry compliant. So sign up. There's really nothing to lose. You can, I shouldn't tell you this, but sign up and cancel it after 2 weeks if you really hate it. It's $1 a day. After the 2-week free trial is up, it's $30 for the month. So it's less than $1 a day most months. And, we offer some pretty useful stuff. Guys have fun with us, and, you really have nothing to lose. So come check it out. And
soccer was crazy today.
Yeah, soccer did well today. Baseball is almost over, but that's doing well to close the year. Football tomorrow, we expect to have a very, very big day. We've composed ourselves. Week 1 was good, but now everyone feels better knowing what to expect from week 2. So that's it for us. RotoPros, have a great Saturday night, everybody, and let's win some money tomorrow.
Good luck, everyone.
Thanks, guys.